If you're running a business, there's one thing that is never going to be on your side, no matter how well things are going, and that is your brain, unless you train it to do otherwise. And I'm going to teach you a method today that retrains your brain to do exactly what you want when you want it. I developed this method 10 years ago and have used it successfully on hundreds of clients. This method is called REAP, R-E-E-P. Recognize, express, evidence, physical. 4 simple steps that are easy to talk about but hard to master. And there's one that matters more than the rest of them. It's probably not the one that you'd actually expect. We're going to start off with some proof on how this method works, even on one of the most extreme cases that I have ever coached over my 10 years of coaching. My client Andrew, this guy was a very successful senior engineer who suffered from severe OCD. And he would obsess about getting fired like that was his actual job, constantly, all day long, every day. No matter how well things were actually going for Andrew, in the back of his mind, he was saying, I'm going to get fired. And he'd been able to hide it for many years in his career. But over the past couple of years, it had gotten so much worse that it was actually starting to show up in the office, and his coworkers were starting to notice. It was ruining his life. He was starting to pull away from absolutely everyone that he cared about because he was so obsessed with getting fired. And by the time he had come to me, he had given up on every other treatment plan. This, in his own words, was his last-ditch effort to take back control over his brain. So here's exactly what we did and how we applied the system to rewire his brain and how you could use it as well. R, recognize. This is the first step. This is the moment the thought fires. You have to catch it and say it out loud. This is the thought that I am having right now. That's it. This step is pure awareness, because where awareness goes, energy flows. And the more you do it, the better you're going to get at calling it out the second it shows up. It pulls the thought out of the shadows. And now it's front and center instead of running in the background. And now E, express it. This is the part where you actually say the thought out loud, not just I'm having a thought. You get specific, because specificity leads to clarity. The thought that Andrew is struggling with was, I am afraid I am going to lose my job. And here's why this part of the tool works. I want you to think about Freddy Krueger, if you're old enough to remember that. He was powerful only in people's dreams, in their heads. But the second the characters of the movie figured out that if we pull Freddy out of the dream world and bring him into the real world, all his power was gone. He was just a weirdo in a red sweater. And that's the same thing with your thoughts. The moment you say it out loud, it starts losing all of its power because it becomes real. And the real things, those are the things that you can fight. Live in your head or you're dead. Same with your thoughts. The moment you start saying them out loud, they start losing all of their power. Because when things become real things, you can actually fight. You stand no chance to win. Now we're on to the most important part of this entire tool, the evidence. For Andrew, the thought he was having was, I am afraid that I am going to lose my job. But the evidence that he couldn't argue with was he had just been promoted. He was constantly getting promoted. He had actually just won an award at work for how great of a boss he was. He had to start repeating that evidence over and over and over again. Here's why repetition is the key. You already have this skill. They're just using it wrong. The same system that built the negative thought spiral in your brain is the same system that you're now using with REAP to rewire your brain for good. I'm going to get fired got repeated thousands of times in his head. So that is how it became the loop. So, with the evidence, you just start repeating that just as many times, and your brain latches onto that instead, and that becomes the new loop. Because your brain's whole job is to be as efficient as possible, so it loves repetition. Now that we've done the most important part, there's one more step here, and that is P, for physical. Move your body for only 60 to 90 seconds. It gives you just enough of a chance to get out of your head and deeper into your body. Because if you stay in your head for too long, it's not going to go well. If Andrew couldn't go somewhere to move his body, he would just go straight back to the evidence. And he would repeat the evidence as many times as he possibly could. Now, the physical step is important, but if you can't do it, out of all of these steps, this is the one that I'm completely okay with you skipping. Here's what most people get wrong about REAP. They think that changing your brain is the hard part. I hate to break it to you. Hard is only relative to what you get in return. If I say to you, carry this boulder up a hill 100 times, and at the end of this journey, you're going to get your dream car, that's actually not that hard because the return is worth it. But if I told you to do that same thing, and at the end you got nothing, it would actually be hard. So make sure when you're using REAP, you frame it properly to what you get in return. So the part that most people get wrong is how they frame REAP. You need to frame it as, yes, this is hard, but the return I'm going to get for this is absolutely massive. I am going to get a brain that is under my control. Do it over and over again, every day, until it becomes automatic. If you're a guy who's built something, a business, a career, a family that depends on you, I'm sorry, but you don't get the luxury of a brain that you don't control. The only difference between you and Andrew is you probably haven't done the reps yet to change yourself. One of the things I learned very early in my coaching career is volume solves almost every problem that we have in our life. And chances are you're probably doing the volume, you're just doing it in the wrong direction that is getting you in a feedback loop that you don't want. So instead, start aiming that volume at the evidence of what is actually going on that gives you the brain that you want. It will work, I guarantee you. A year after we wrapped up, I got this letter from Andrew. This was the first time in my career that I ever had someone take this step of sending me a handwritten letter. In the letter, it said, I remember the day I typed life coaching into Google. I had exhausted every option and I couldn't see a way out. This was my last-ditch effort after years of therapy hadn't worked to change my brain. And after 1 year of doing REAP, REAP did it because the truth was never the problem. The program was. The system he was using to change his brain was. Thank you so much for helping me change my brain. Now, you understand the system, but understanding the system and using the system are different. So here is what you're going to do over the next week if you are having this problem. You are going to do REAP. Every single time the negative thought spirals, you are going to do this. You are going to start changing your brain day by day, step by step. If you're actually ready to start changing your life and changing your brain, go watch this video down below about how effort over outcome is the simplest mindset shift you can ever make that is going to get you more results than you've ever gotten before. I'm Ben Green, Chief Mindset Officer. Have a good day.